We would call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners at April 15th at 5:15. We'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Here. Any changes to the agenda? Nope. Okay, we'll open it up to public requests.
Turple 19155 Fair Lawn Way, Boca Raton. Thank you, commissioners, for everything you do as usual, which is making this one of the best recreation areas that there are, if not in the state of Florida, in the entire country. I just want to say a few words regarding the Patch Reef Park pickleball facility, which is on the agenda today. And the staff just did a magnificent job of designing which is going to be one of the top facilities in the country. And I understand there's just a small blip in the design, and there's a proposal to spend a little bit more money, which is less than 3%. I think it's less than 2.5% of the total project, to make sure that the project is built the way it was designed. And I'm just hoping and praying and encouraging that you look at that in a very positive way, because it was just a magnificent job of designing that facility. So hopefully you can find a way of making sure we finish it out the way it was designed. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay, Raul Travieso, 1037 West Royal Palm Road in Boca Raton. I just want to echo some of what Art was saying. But first, I want to talk about pickleball in general. It is pickleball month, so I want to tell you a few statistics, and I know you hate statistics, but here they are. 40% of the players are women. The other 60 are men. The average age now, the largest group now, a third of the players are between the ages of 18 and 34. We've got approximately 36.5 million people playing pickleball to date. It's increased by 225% in the last 3 years, thanks to COVID. So there's close to 14,000 pickleball courts nationwide, and we're going to add to those courts. I wanted to now mention that I get the agenda packet, and I'm aware of the fact that in order for the courts to be built to regulation size, which is 64 by 40, modifications must be made to the roof at an additional cost. Brianne and Melissa have done a great, fantastic job of laying out this this complex. It's going to be world renowned, as so is Boca Paddle. So we've got two things going for us. Commissioners, you've never cut on corners. You've always done everything, and you've decided to do things not only recreationally, but economically. So I think it's well worth the money for safety reasons to make the courts bigger. And that's the reason why the USA Pickleball Association has increased the size of the pickleball court for safety measures, so we don't run into the boundary fencing. And so that's one of the reasons. The construction of the 18 courts is different than the conversions of the 12 courts that we did so marvelously, and Craig was the forerunner on that one, but we converted tennis courts, and tennis courts are not 128 feet long. Their boundaries are 120 feet. So our courts, the 12 courts, existing courts we have, they are 60 by 40. But the new regulation size for safety reasons is 64 by 40. And I hope that you spend the extra money for safety reasons and aesthetically to approve the additional costs. I thank you.
Well,
Hello, Siliberti. I live at 6200 Northwest Second Avenue, Boca Raton, Florida. I know that Boca Paddle's been very cooperative in you know, stating they're going to adjust some prices and working with us, and you know, that is always the intent, to have a great business PPP relationship. One way to really cut the operating expenses, I don't know if they would consider it. I mean, you took to talk about the city pickle people from Manhattan. I mean, we have enough people in Boca Raton between the pros, the coaches. I mean, grabbing management from another state in one of the highest priced states in the country. You really got to question if that would be necessary in a you know, South Florida. I mean, they're learning from us, not vice versa. Basically, I wanted to you know, welcome their ideas, and hopefully they'll work with us. But you know, considering comparable pricing, there is really no comparative with when you take into the, you know, it's a building that's if it's 16 million, you get it depreciated to zero. You don't depreciate land. The land really is not a cost factor. And I think it's a great business opportunity. And if the general partners wanted to have minority partners and sell member partnerships, I'm sure I could get friends of mine to buy 1 or 5%. I think it's a great opportunity, and that's because it's an exclusive location. And between the pickleball, the indoor, and the food and beverage, which I know will be top notch, I just think it's a great opportunity for everyone. Let's just hope we can all get there and afford it. And I'm hoping we have some good news from the Butters Group and Boca Paddle today.
anybody else? No? Okay. Closing public requests and do approval of the minutes of the previous board meeting held on April 1st.
Ruth, Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to regular business. We'll do the Boca Paddle update first.
Good evening. Good evening, Malcolm Butters with Butters Construction Development. And with me is our partner, Mr. Stuart Davis, and Catherine Abbott too. And Stuart's going to do the main presentation on pricing. Just to give you a brief update, we forwarded to Brianne this morning over the weekend. We are back into the city officially for the site plan approval process. So hopefully we've addressed most of the comments. Maybe expect one more round, but I don't think much more than that. So I think hopefully if all goes well, we should be on track for sometime this, I'd say probably July or August, hopefully, for a site plan approval. And we'll coordinate, of course, with Miller Leg on the North Park submittal too. But Stuart's going to do a presentation on our proposal and what we come up with on pricing.
All right, thank you guys. Stuart Davis, Boca Paddle, 9657 Vescovado Way, Boca Raton, Florida, 33496. I apologize for my address. I literally just raced directly here from the US Open Pickleball in Naples to come directly for the meeting because that's important. I want to be here and I want you guys to know how important this is. So I raced back over from Naples, directly playing all day today, and I'm gonna go back over there. So, yeah.
Stuart didn't tell you the best part. Stuart, the team we put together is such a committed team. Stuart won a silver medal this afternoon. He's too modest, which is unbelievable. And Brian, I think, who you met last time, Brian was in the Delray. What was the Delray one last weekend?
Delray Open, APP Delray Open.
Yeah, and he won a bronze.
Yeah, he won a bronze, senior pro.
Yeah, and this young man won a silver in what category?
This was men's 40s, 40-year-old men, just the best 40-year-old men in the country, basically 40 to 49, the best in the country.
So anyway, it's just a dedication.
Thank you.
That's all. All right,
Thank
so
you.
now you got
Now
a
we can
full,
start.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So can you talk about site plan? So basically what I wanted to really express is we've heard your concerns. We've been, working through them. We're trying to do our best here and figure out the best ways that, that we can, make this open. We've heard the concerns from all the commissioners, especially Aaron, about the availability to get this open to the public and not having it be too exclusive and things like that. So, and we heard the discussions last time, that there could be some room here, as it relates to the concession fee and things like that. We understood that you didn't, the initiation fees issues and things like that. So, the biggest thing that we're basically wanting to really convey here is, look, we've already told you, we're spending $16 million to build this facility, right? This business has to make sense. And 2 meetings ago, I think that all the commissioners agreed that, this can't be everything for everyone. As much as we would all like it to be. And, this is for some, you have Patch Reef for others, things like that. But again, we want to give in and we want to work on some of these things and whatnot. So, we believe that if you guys are open to this, we have a way to, to settle this and to basically delete the initiation fees, right? If that was one of the big points of contention. So, what we're proposing is if you guys are willing to negotiate as it relates to concession fees, like you expressed at the last meeting, then we could be willing to negotiate as it relates to initiation fees. Actually, we'll negotiate so far as to delete all the initiation fees if that, if that can work out. And basically what we're talking about is we would still have a monthly membership for members that want that. However, this would be another option where for people that don't want to have a monthly membership, this can be completely open and you just pay a daily guest fee to have access to the facility. So no monthly initiation, no initiation for the membership and then no monthly fees. For people that want to come a couple times a month, once a month, they want to pay daily guest fees, we have a way to do that. So what we're proposing is that we would have you guys reduce the concession fee, and in exchange for that, we can delete the initiation fees. And basically, we'll have our members, and our members can join and they can pay the monthly fee, which is basically in line with every other pickleball facility throughout the country, and even one of our neighbors that's building here in Lake Worth, which does have an initiation fee, by the way, a $1,500 initiation fee for the one that they're building in Lake Worth, with similar monthlies and court fees to us. And basically what we're saying is we would then, for people that don't want to be part of that and don't want to have the membership, they can come and they can pay a $40 guest fee to use the facility for the day and have access to the whole facility. We would discount that to $35 for Boca residents. And then court fees would be, exactly the same as they were for even the members, right? So they would pay the same court fees. We don't have to have a tiered structure for court fees or anything like that, but they would have to pay a guest fee to come in and to use the facility. And, we think that that's something that actually could really, work out well. The members will still have, we can't cannibalize our membership. We need that membership model to actually make this, make financial sense. And so members will have additional privileges and whatnot in terms of how far out they can book the courts and things like that. And people that are just coming to pay a daily, guest fee, they won't be able to book ahead of time courts, like our members will be able to, but they'll be able to come. And quite frankly, we're going to have 14 indoor courts and 2 indoor padel, another 9 outdoor pickle. It's going to be a lot of courts, maybe at some point when there's, rain and whatnot, and people really want to come in, it might be a little bit busier, but in general, we're going to have a lot of courts, right? And so, we think that that is an option that really works. And we put some of the terms up here. And we really would like to have the commissioners, consider this. And if it's something that people are amenable to, we think we can work through, how to make that happen. We're still going to offer incentives for youth programming. We'll still have offer, there'll be things for the youth, for the teens to come in and do that. That's a huge, proponent or whatever, I mean, I personally, I've mentioned this before, I train a bunch of teenage female players. I'm coaching them and stuff. I believe, teenage girls especially are the future of pickleball. Pickleball is, on a trajectory to become a college sport, but very, very focused around female players, especially. There's many reasons for that probably you guys know about if you're familiar with, college scholarships and whatnot in athletics. So, we want to see that. We also want to promote beginners coming in, and we'll be able to have, just like we've talked about before, clinics for beginners to come in and learn how to play the game, things like that. And, if they want to end up joining the club, great. If they don't want to join the club, they can be on a plan here where, they can come in as a daily guest fee. We believe we've done a lot of research on this. We've looked at other places. You have a lot of other exclusive clubs throughout the area, right? That have guest fees. You have less exclusive clubs, things like that. We want to be able to, have access to that. So it's not abnormal. You have clubs as fancy as, the Boca Raton Resort that have daily guest fees available where, a member can bring in somebody that's not a guest and they can pay a daily guest fee for them, things like that. But here by eliminating this, we're not saying that you even have to come with a member. We're going to just have daily guest fee. You just will have less, privileges than a full member will have. And really the biggest thing on that is how far out you can book courts, right? So this is, we think it's a great proposal. We'd love to, talk about it some, answer some questions on it some, and see where the commissioners' heads are at on trying to do this. So again, points are laid out here. As far as what I just said, went through it verbally, we can go through it a little bit more. And then on the next slide, everything else I spoke about, we still want to have beginner clinics. We still want to have youth programming. We're still going to have special events and things like that. We want this to be a booming place that everybody wants to come and hang out. And again, people that, don't like the pricing or the pricing is just a little bit too much for them, we're going to have a patch reef option for them. You guys are working to build that as well. So there will be options for everybody, right? And then, again, just some of these membership benefits you'll have them, but we talked about, the hours and stuff would be the same, in terms of what we're thinking, if we do the, if we do this, this new setup and whatnot, the court fees and everything like that. We can still have the community membership structure for people that want to have this community membership and they want to have access to that. We can still leave that in there. But again, we want to have an option here that makes it completely open to the public. And that could be just with a daily guest fee. I've shown a bunch of other information here, just showing some comparable pricing. Again, comparing to some of our neighbors, what Diadem is doing. Diadem actually does something like this where they have pricing for members and they have higher pricing for non-members. We're again proposing the same pricing, but you'll just have a guest fee instead. Our best real competitor, because I don't really consider Diadem to be much of a competitor of what we're doing, right? That is a different type of facility, but the pickleball club at Lakewood Ranch, which is at the bottom here, that's the one in Sarasota that's actually building now a facility here in Lake Worth or Lake Worth Beach, as they want to call it. And that is going to still be a facility just like their Sarasota facility. They've already announced to the world, it's been in public newspapers, all that stuff. It's a $1,500 initiation fee. It's $130 to $150 a month. It's a private club. So, we believe we can offer something that, is comparable to that. The product's going to be here in Central to East Boca, much better location. Arguably, we all believe that living here in Boca than Lake Worth, 30 minutes away from here. And we'll have options for everybody. In terms of our financial projections, we wanted to just update the financial projections for you guys a little bit in terms of what we see. Budget hasn't really changed much. We're right around $16 million is where we're going to come in for this whole facility. But we know with the initiation fees going away and some of the other stuff that we're changing with some of the pricing, we do believe that our year one revenue is going to decrease because of some of that. So we wanted to show you, what we're thinking from that, in that regard, what those expenses and revenue numbers look like. So we wanted to update those for you guys. That's really it. Happy to take some questions and make this as interactive as anybody wants it to be.
First, I want to thank you guys for coming in again. I know you have a lot of other things on your plate, so I appreciate the attention we're getting. And I also appreciate your willingness to work with us. I think at first blush, this looks pretty good. I really haven't had a chance to digest it, but I'm very happy at the elimination of the initiation fees. I think that goes a long way. The question I wanted to ask you is, have you given any consideration to discounted nighttime fees? When I say nighttime, I'm talking about like, say, 8 to 10. And I'm assuming, I'm making the assumption that it's slower than it might be, say, on a, say from 7 to 9 in the morning or from 5 to 7 in the afternoon.
So actually so nighttime pickleball is actually probably the busiest time, right? So you have a lot of the population that works, right? Full-time jobs. I would say, 6 to 10 at night is pretty, I mean, that's prime time for pickleball. So you have a very busy crowd that plays probably from about 6:30 a.m. until as much as 10, depending on people's job situations and stuff like that. Things do slow down during the day as you look at facilities around town. You look what happens at Diadem. You see a lot of the midday play is retirees. Sometimes you have, middle-aged women that are playing that, or while kids at school, stuff like that. But really the peak times are those mornings, and then those night times is really busy. So that actually wouldn't be helpful for us from a standpoint.
How about, say, like, I know when we lived on Long Island, we were in a bowling league, and the bowling alley used to have midnight hours, like 10 to midnight. And
That might work, but we'd have to figure out how to keep it
Yeah,
open.
you'd
So we
have
were
to
planning
figure
close
out-
the facility. And again, we don't
Yeah.
want to upset our Boca Chica neighbors and stuff like
Right.
that. So we don't want
Yeah.
the facility to be open too late. Again, we're an indoor facility. We do have some outdoor courts that are sound barrier buffed and all, buffered and all that stuff. But we do have to think about that, as well.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to run this, like a bar and entertainment operation, like a Chicken and Pickle was trying to
Yeah.
propose or anything like that. So
Yeah,
we're
no,
open to those things.
yeah, I understand. I'm just throwing that
Yeah.
out there to see if we can find a way to appeal to those people who can't be there from 10 to 4, but say like one night a week, maybe a Friday night or a Sunday night.
Friday, we could probably discuss some of that and see how that works. I can tell you that Friday nights usually are the least busy nights that I know from other facilities, right? So if we look at comparables at even Diadem locally, we look at some of the comparables over at Lakewood Ranch in Sarasota. So Friday night is usually slowest. Believe it or not, Saturday night is pretty busy at these places because pickleball has become so social. You have dates going out to pickleball. You have couples that go out and play on Saturday nights. It's become such a social thing. So Friday night, something might work there, but so we can look at that. But we'd be open to pursuing that. We want people to come and enjoy the facility. Don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
right? We just have to do it in a way that covers our costs and makes this, financially feasible for everybody, right? All of, what we're putting in to build this facility, our investors and all that stuff. It has to work out.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you.
Of course.
So I'd be totally fine with keeping the initiation fee for non-residents. I think, having the the residents not paying the initiation fee was kind of like my goal with that. So if you want to, if that works for you guys, I think that would work for what the purpose of this facility for us would be and the numbers that we're looking at. I don't know if that would work for you, but I'm just mentioning that as like, you could add the initiation fee back in, or even like a lower one from what you were looking at, maybe as like, okay, you're a non-resident, you need to pay the initiation fee versus the residents who are taxpayers,
Yeah.
not pay the initiation fee. Just an idea.
You can look at it. I mean, we're sort of, as you know, Aaron, we're at the location that we're in, right? You're sort of central in the sense that we're literally right on the border of Delray. So it's like
Right.
you can have somebody that, lives whatever, a half a mile from the facility that technically is going to have a Delray address, and they're going to be closer than somebody that lives in West Boca and something. So we're trying to just, again, to try to make it open and figure out a way.
Yeah, and I
I-
totally agree with you. I'm just
Yeah.
looking at the people who pay taxes
No, I get it.
to
I'm the
us.
same way. I'm a member of Patch Reef. I get a discount because I'm a Boca resident. So the
Right.
Racket does the same thing. There's a small discount if you're a resident. I get it.
Yeah.
We can
So
look into something like that and see.
because I don't want to push people away again from the facility who
Yeah.
live in the area, but then you also do want to give the residents who pay the taxes to us for that land that we bought, some sort of deal that they're getting. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, we're deleting the initiation fee for everybody, so it'd be like. we'd be
Right, but
adding back-
then the residents are like, well, what special thing are we getting?
So I
Kind of
think
thing, you
if
know what I
they're
mean?
not gonna be a member, then, I mean, we could do something where a resident can have a discounted membership to some extent. We could change that a little bit. But if they're not gonna be a member, then we'll just discount the daily guest fees for Boca residents. That'd be the same thing, like what Patch Reef does, right? I think it's $12 to play pickleball at Patch Reef if you're not a Boca
Right, and it
address, and
sticks if
6
you are.
for just the open play. And I think
Right.
everybody appreciates also that those numbers are gonna get completely thrown out of the water when we have $10 million covered facility at Patch Reef.
No, we actually found out that the prices are actually gonna stay the same for the Patch Reef facility, which is fantastic.
That's great. If
Yeah,
So
so,
it'd be the same thing that if somebody wants to play in the covered courts, when we ultimately have the covered courts there, they'll pay the same as the open courts, the
Mhm.
outdoor courts?
Yeah.
Nice. That's amazing.
yeah,
Then that gives us, then we. sort
right,
of-
but it's subsidized,
Yeah,
so
oh, it's
that's,
absolutely correct.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I'm just looking at the residents of Boca who are taxpayers and what we can do for the residents, because that's who we represent, right? And then, so you're saying a daily fee for Boca residents, and then you pay the court fee on top of that. And so are you paying the court fee that's the membership court fee, or are you paying the community membership court fee?
Well, that's just based on the hours of play. So basically, it'll be the same for everybody, whether you're a member or not.
Mhm.
Non-members just have a guest fee, but the hourly rate will be just whatever the hourly rate is, right? So during those so-called community hours or the off-peak hours,
Right,
courts will be cheaper.
okay.
than peak
So if
hours.
you're coming in at 7:30, it's gonna be $60 per hour on the indoor court.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
I mean, it's so much appreciated that you guys went and looked at what fees you could do for the residents and changing that up a little bit, because I think it's so much more doable for people. And also not having to be a member and just wanting to go play on a Monday afternoon or whatever, and you can just pay that fee. It is gonna be helpful to people for sure.
Yeah.
And if you could do like some sort of like parent pays daily rate, kid gets in, plays for free, or something like that, where you're paying for a parent and a kid plays for free under the age of 12 or whatever it is, something where it's, because if you're coming in with a family of 4 and you're not members, but you're paying daily, so that's what, 35, 70, $140 plus the court
As long as
fee.
the court time is paid for, I think we'll figure out some ways to do stuff for the kids. We're not
Yeah.
gonna, the whole goal, we want kids out here playing, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so we want to see it. I mean, they could be playing at Patch Reef and South County and all the other parks, whatever. But there's gonna be times, when they want to come here on the weekends, if, midsummer, if the weather's really hot, it's raining,
Right.
whatever it is. We're gonna work on that. I mean, they'll have to be options or whatnot. I mean, at
Mhm.
the end of the day, parents are still gonna have to pay the guest fee if they're not a member.
right.
Yes, court time's gonna be paid, but could kids under 12 not have a guest fee? That's probably something that we can work on. It could be discount guest fee. I mean, we want to promote all of that.
Not that parents are gonna be coming and playing with their kids all the time, right? It's like, if you want to go play on a Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock with your kids out on the outdoor courts or something like that in the middle of August,
Yeah, and if the kids are coming with and they're not playing, they're not using the court time, then,
then you're not paying for them
you're not-
anyway, right?
You're not paying, but
Right,
yeah, I mean, it depends. I'd love it if the parents are playing with their kids and stuff
Right,
like that. I mean, that's
exactly.
what I'm a huge proponent of, right?
right. And it makes it a little bit more doable versus paying $140 plus the court fee, which is like,
Yeah.
it would be $200 almost. So I'm just trying to think how it would be more doable for a family to get out there and play. You know what I
so
mean?
We'll work on things to promote that. I don't know if anybody even followed, but at the APP Delray Open, which was a huge tournament that just happened there, you had actually grandparent, grandkid teams playing in this tournament for one of the first times ever. And a couple of them actually won medals in some divisions and stuff, where you had a 75-year-old grandfather playing with their 10-year-old grandchild in doubles stuff. So we want to promote all that stuff. I mean, that stuff is great. I had a daughter out there playing. We had, you had the gold medal in 3-5 women's, okay, which could be anybody from the ages 0 to 50. Okay, it was won by a 9-year-old girl and her 12-year-old partner that I put together to play in the tournament. I mean, so we want to promote all this stuff like that, right? So we'll figure some of these things out. But again, it has to be within reason to a financial model. And then we can have certain days where we can have incentives and things like that. I mean, we get it.
Yeah, I think, Aaron, the point is, this is very fluid. We haven't even opened up yet. So it's hard to project all these things. And at the end of the day, this is all market driven, right? So if we are actually over or we're not getting enough people, we're going to have to adjust pricing to incentivize people to come out. And what's interesting, is once we had this discussion, I was telling Brianne, we started doing a little bit more digging. So we started looking at the Fort, which is, in Fort Lauderdale, that new public-private partnership that they did. So I read their concession agreement, and what's interesting, they didn't have to disclose like any pricing, so they didn't have to go through the same thought process that we do, and we're appreciative. So we have no problem actually thinking it through. But they went along with it, and I think they realized also that it's market driven. The Fort or Boca Paddle, whatever. We're going to have to be reasonable. There's not enough people. It's not going to be a Ritz-Carlton. The same thing, this is an indoor facility. We're going to have a lot of people operating. You're going to have air conditioning expenses and maintenance and whatnot. And it's just going to cost. And, we went before the board. The board wants a nice quality facility. And Sil even mentioned that, the Boca facility at Patch Reef is first quality. And we have to show you, a nice quality facility. So all these things cost money. And we're there to, we're there to uphold our bargain.
It's actually pretty funny, like with that Ford facility, which is another public-private partnership just like ours, but all outdoors. They've actually gone out of their way to never disclose anything about pricing. They never had discussions in the concession agreement. They've never disclosed anything to the public because they want to keep it, as they figure out what their costs are and as they see what the market is, to Malcolm's point, they want to be able to just then come to market with, here it is.
Yeah.
And it's been in like, cloaks of darkness on some of the stuff.
Yeah,
with
we went on their
pricing.
website and everything. There's nothing there. And even the new Padel
Yeah.
facility that's opening up in Boca that's private. It's still hard to find real
Yeah, no, and I
information.
know the Ford people very well. They've said very clearly, like, they don't want to disclose anything right now because they don't know what the market is.
I'm impressed that you are willing to go to these measures. Are you still going to put a cap on the number of members?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have to keep a cap on the membership because at some point you're gonna have too many members. There's just not gonna be enough availability. If people are gonna pay a membership fee, they want to make sure that there's courts available for them. The numbers have, the numbers have to work, right? It's like if you were just, any golf club, if you start to have, 500 families that are members of a golf club and you have 18 holes, people can't get tee times, right? And we've seen what happened there. So we have to have a cap. But again, market driven, we'll see where we go. We're following what others have done throughout, these facilities are 2 years old, 3 years old max throughout the country. So we're standing on the shoulders of what others are doing and seeing what they're doing, how many people they believe they can have as a cap per court, right? So right now, most of the facilities set a cap somewhere around 100 to 120 members per court. That's how they do their math. And so that's where we talked about why we say 2,000-ish members is what we kept. We'll see how that goes and we'll see what the play is and whatnot.
Well, to Aaron's point about the non-resident initiation fee, you're talking about golf up at the park in West Palm Beach. That's right on the Lake Worth, West Palm Beach border. City residents have a totally different green fee than the people who live in Lake Worth. They're county residents, so they pay a county much more than the city residents pay. So, if you look at something like that, now that was a public-private partnership as well.
But Stuart mentioned that the day pass for Boca residents would be less than the day pass for non-Boca residents. I don't know, I don't know if you said that.
Right.
The park is an interesting anomaly, by the way, because like it's also that there's an air of exclusivity that has been created around that place, even though it's public, right? It's sort of like Bethpage Black golf course in New York, where like you can't just go play Bethpage Black, even though it's technically a public course. So I don't know how much you know about the park, but
I know a lot about the
so
park.
you know what
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
I'm friends with Brian Conley
Yeah,
and
so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There is it's not like Osprey, right? Where everybody just shows up and plays and makes their tee times. Something has changed there.
but it has a lot for families. They're really catering to the families and to the social aspect of golf. I think it has a lot of different amenities that are very attractive, and I'm impressed. That Brian was also effective with the Bobby Jones course in Atlanta. Same type of
They've done an
concept.
incredible job there. There's no
They
question.
really
Done
have.
very well. They've put themselves on the map on a national level with what they're doing. They got this recent, big publicity around this match that they played there, this $1 million golf match
Right.
that they televised and everything like that with Lexi Thompson and all them and whatnot. They've done a killer job. I applaud what they've done. There's no question.
But I mean, it's just, different fees for different people. It costs us a lot more to go up there but it's worth it. With your food and beverage, what kind of concept are you looking at, and price points and everything like that?
I mean, we don't really have all the answers set, if I'm being
Okay.
honest, but it's going to be, a mixed array of food. The price point, we're not trying to sell it. We don't want to have expensive food, anything like that. It's going to be a concept that's going to be, I think relatively healthy and more health focused. Mitch Robbins, who's our partner, owns Farmer's Table
Mhm.
here in Boca, which is a sort of a
And
farm
Red
to-
Pine.
and Red Pine.
Yeah.
Farmer's Table is a little more health conscious than Red Pine. But it's working off of that type of concept, probably with something like that. We also are going to be mindful of space, right? So we're not, we're going to be doing stuff that can be done in ovens and with, limited amounts of room for refrigeration, things like that. We're not going to be sauteing meals and things like that. We want to do stuff that's a little easier.
I think it's gonna be more convenience food,
Yeah.
Susan, and drinks. It's definitely not meal. You wouldn't go there for a full meal, right? You're not gonna, oh, Kat, let's go eat at the Boca Paddle. It's not like Houston's or anything like that. This is, you maybe
from 10 to
you
12, we'll have
play,
lunch after.
you want a sandwich, you go. It'd be like at a golf course, there's like Mulligan's here at the resort, you're just grabbing some fast food options. I mean, it's gonna be healthy, but again.
There will be
we're-
pizza though also, so
Yeah.
that'll be.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, you got my vote there.
But again, I don't think we have, to Stuart's point, we haven't baked it out because we have to get into a lot of that, still. But again, the model is based, the RFP clearly was for a racket facility. And our model is based what you want, which is, 80% or more of revenue generated from pickleball and pickleball activities. And the food is an accessory use. And I think, Brianne, we touched on too, right? The zoning, I think, is not really zoned for a restaurant. This is a recreational facility, and the food component is just an accessory use.
Thank you.
Like everyone else, I'm gratified that you've listened to what we've had to say and have modified the original plan that you had for membership. And as business people, and you've already said this, that you're going to make adjustments, like Steve was suggesting, maybe some nights might be like a Friday night to be a little bit lower rate. I'm impressed with the fact that you guys have put a lot of thought into it. We've kind of been ahead of the curve a little bit in how you're approaching this business model. But you've come to think and accept some of the ideas that we've proposed. And I, for one, am suitably satisfied with the way we are at this point. And I would say also that at some point you may want to modify some of these charges. I don't have any problem with anything that results in lower fees, of course. But if we start getting feeling the need for higher fees, I think we'd need to have a discussion about some of those things. But
Yeah.
I'm
I think, Commissioner, I think in the concession agreement, there is caps.
okay.
I'll defer to Mr. Gorin, but there is caps
Okay.
on that.
There's caps.
All right. Well, to the degree that there are, I know that I have complete confidence in you guys in being able to run the business, and we want you to be successful and not handicap you unnecessarily with things that we think are going to hamper your ability to do just that. The one question, originally, I think there was a limited number of guest fees, a limited number of times when a person as a guest could show up, but that has not, that's no longer in the plan. So,
We eliminated that.
okay. So I I appreciate the thought that's gone into this. I'm completely satisfied with where we are with this approach. And I don't have any suggestions on anything that would improve what you've talked to us about today.
Yeah, look, I think that, this is a risky venture, right? It's not, you're not going to kill it. I mean, we showed you our initial projections. It's 15 million. If it all goes well, maybe you're going to make an 8 or 10% return on your investment, which is not crazy. And in spite of what Sil thinks, that it's a gold mine. It's a very risky bet. I hope it does very well, but it's by no means a slam dunk. You're going to have a lot of these facilities popping up, whether it's Lake Worth or out west. We're going to still compete technically with Patch Reef because people are going to go, well, it's a nice day. It's 70 degrees outside. Why go to Boca Paddle? I could pay for, half price outdoors and it's this and that. So I think it's, but there's a need and we figure there's a need and some people are going to pay extra, obviously, to play indoors and some aren't. So we're going to have to meet the market needs and like Stuart said, hopefully we get as many members as we can, but some places like Diadem has struggled to get members.
Yeah. I mean, Diadem started as a membership model and they completely changed because people were just like, why are we going to pay to be a member when we can just pay a little extra, right? And it's math, right? People are going to decide if they're only going to play a certain number of times a month, they're not going to join. If the guest fees that they have to pay are going to exceed monthly membership, they're going to join if they look at that and they want the extra perks.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It happens at Patch Reef, by the way, right? Some people, depending on how many times they play at Patch Reef, they just pay a guest fee every time. Other people, they know they're going to play enough, they just pay the annual fee. And the only benefit you get as being a member of Patch Reef is that you can book 2 days in advance, a whopping 2 days in advance, which I still think is weird, but as opposed to 1 day in advance if you're just somebody off the street. So.
I don't mean to be the naysayer on it, but this comes down to $3,000 to $5,000 a month to the district. So it kind of comes back to, we really haven't seen the contract yet. And I think we have to see all of it. This is just a piece of it. And Malcolm, you mentioned the 8 to 10% return. We're the ones who put the money of the residents' money, 7.5 million, I think it was, into that whole east side. So we're trying to do the right thing by, there's got to be some return and you're putting that capital in there. And, as long as that membership fees kind of disappeared, that helps a lot because that's kind of the community thing. But I think it's equally important to see, the contract should guide us for 5 years, 10 years, what happens, if you don't get what you want, because we're not going to be the backstop for it. There's going to be some loss to you, and, potentially a loss to us too, because we disappointed the community. So we want you to succeed. I think we're doing more than enough by reducing it from 12 to 17,000 a month to 3,000 to 5,000 a month. That's nothing. I mean, that barely will pay for the landscaping around there. So we're not getting a lot out of it other than a nice center, and hopefully the community gets something. To me, it's a little light, but we said going into this, we didn't want you to charge a giant membership
Yeah,
fee.
I think I think, Craig, we looked at it and Stuart and I and Brian will look at it too. Again, we went back to the fort too, which is just, there's not a lot of public-private partnerships, so we looked at theirs. So their agreement is public because, that's how we came about. Their agreement is the greater of 1% or 100,000 a year. That's it. So we tweaked it a little because we have some, guardrails on us. So we could talk about it and we're still finishing up with Sam and his partner. So we could look at that model, but I'm just giving you a framework. The fort right now, which is Fort Lauderdale, 8 acres, similar. They're only investing actually 10 million. That's what they're projecting. Right now their concession agreement says 1%, the greater of 1% or 100,000 a year. That's their rent.
I mean, Commissioner, we appreciate that you got to play devil's advocate. You got to fight for the thing. But at the end of the day, like the financial model has to make sense. We're all business people. We've all run successful businesses, as have you guys. We can't afford to do it if we can. So I hate to be like the one who's like more push on that, but I can assure you that I was there and I went in a fine tooth comb with all of our competitors when we won this bid. There's not one of our competitors that you would have ever been happy with more than what we're trying to do here. Not even close. I know those facilities very, very well. Very, people were enamored with Chicken and Pickle. You guys would have regretted that decision 6 ways to Sunday if you went with them, compared to what they want to do and what they would be pushing for and whatnot. And they would have, by the way, already walked away from this at this point. I can assure you, because I know him very, very well, right? They would have said, forget it, we can't do it. It doesn't work, right? We're trying to work with you. We want to do it. So push back, we're going to push back. It's a give and a take and whatnot. But my final plea is we got to get this concession agreement done. If we want to move forward with this, we got to get past this hurdle. Right? We have to finish what we need to do here. We're working in parallel with the site, with the city and the county and all that site plan stuff. And we're doing that all at risk here with our own money to do that. We need to get past this, and we need to have some protections in place with the concession agreement, and we need to get that done. So we really can't have this drag out for months and months more. Otherwise we honestly would have to walk away. I'm just being completely frank with you on it.
Your statement, we need the whole picture.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we made a step in the right direction, but it's kind of a give and take. And so it depends on what else is out there in the concession agreement itself. So it's not,
I mean, they've seen it. The lawyers have been through it and they're working through it, and we've been back and forth on it. I mean, it's most of it's there. The questions came back on adjusting rates and things like that. But in terms of everything else, I
Yeah.
mean, what would you say, 80, 90%?
Yeah, I
of
think,
that is
Craig,
there.
I think most on the concession agreement, I think we're down to probably 4 or 5 points,
Yeah.
really, not much more. We're not really.
Yeah, the board has not seen the
Oh,
agreement.
boy,
We've
okay.
only
I'm
walked through
just giving you,
status.
I have been involved in the discussions with
Back
Mr.
and
Gorin
forth.
and his partner and our lawyer. So, but I could assure you the concession agreement is pretty close. We got to fine tune this business arrangement, but that's about it.
We actually met this afternoon, Jacob, Sam, and myself. We're going to start scheduling meetings with you all to go through it. There's a few things that we have to figure out with the taxes. This exhibit with the fee structure, because that's part of the agreement. So there's just a
I
few
think
things
the
we're ironing out,
default,
but
Brianne, just what would cause a termination of the.
that's the other
yeah,
final thing that we
That's
have
the
to
big
work
one,
out.
yeah.
So we're just ironing out those last things, but we're pretty close to setting up individual meetings with each of you to go through it and get to that point. Because obviously the goal is to get this agreement done. One of the exhibits is the fee structure. So we just want to get an idea. If everybody's comfortable with the path that they're on, then we can finalize that exhibit at least and get that portion done.
Yeah, I mean, we just want to move this in the right direction, right? You can appreciate, I mean, we have, hundreds of thousands of dollars into this now at this point, completely at risk because we don't have a concession agreement, right? And, that's where I think some of the other people that wanted to do this at this point, they would have walked away from this, right? Nobody's going to stomach that level of risk, dealing, going back and forth. So please appreciate that we're trying to do everything we can to make this, but we have to advance this along. We have no other option.
Comfortable with where they're at now so we can work on that portion of the agreement? We're all satisfied with the path of the,
I am, yeah.
okay. Okay.
Thank you, commissioners. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
For 2 North Park budget, did anybody in the audience have any comments or anything that we needed to open up a discussion, public discussion or comments? Did you want to go ahead? Is that okay with the commissioners to open it up to public comment? Not a back and forth, but just to comment on the presentation? Reiterate, not a back and forth though. Just a comment.
Solidarity 6200 Northwest Second Avenue. Just to lower the risk of the Butters Group, I'm not sure exactly what happens to a $16 million building and 212 acres, but I'm sure that that building will not be forfeited. God forbid the Boca Paddle didn't, if it was not successful, I mean, then maybe there would be other options, but I'm sure that's not a $16 million risk going down to zero. So hopefully that could be written into the concession where if they did make other price concessions and if something didn't work out, I mean, the Butters Group said it was going to be a hurricane-proof building, and I'm sure there were other options. So hopefully those other options will keep their risk at a minimum.
Yes? No? All right. Close public comment and we'll move on to number 2, North Park Vegetation Maintenance Plan.
Commissioners, on page 5 of your agenda packets is a memo, kind of articulating what I've talked to each of you about. On North Park, we have a lot of invasive vegetation that's grown along the railroad tracks. And so part of our site plan approval process with the city is to develop a maintenance plan, an ongoing maintenance plan that will remove invasives and plant native vegetation without destroying what is a sound barrier for that community. So this is doing basically what we call a pilot plot on the area. It's about 1.4 acres. We talked to our current vendor, Bush Hog, on a price. Middle Lake evaluated the price that they gave us and talked to other companies that do this kind of work, and it was on par with that. Obviously, the only other option is to go out to bid if we don't want to go with our current vendor, and that will delay this process of getting through site plan. So we'd like to go ahead tonight. I'm just asking you for approval of this work in the amount of 41,000. I will tell you that there is a lot of vegetation. There's a lot of stuff that they're going to clear out, and we don't know what is all in there. So there's a possibility that this could go, they may come back and say, we had to remove, who knows what is in there. So if you wanted to, I'm going to ask just if you wanted to add a little bit to this, like if we could get an amount not to exceed 50,000, just in the event that we come across extra stuff in there that needs to be removed, or trees or vegetation that we can't even see right now because the, what are those things called? The red, the Brazilian peppers. Thank you. The Brazilian peppers are so thick. There are trees that you just can't even see in the brush right now. So just looking tonight for approval so we can get this started. And once it's cleared out, they'll start this in May. It'll take about 4 weeks to get done. Once they get this cleared out, Miller Lake will go in there and tag the trees that can stay, the trees that have to go, and mark areas for the new vegetation to go in. So there will be more costs, but this will give us an idea. You all remember how expensive it was to remove invasives at Ocean Strand. This is not a easy process, but it's going to be necessary to develop the property and put together this maintenance plan for the city's environmental team to get us through the site plan process. So tonight, just looking for approval in the minimum of the $41,000.
Brianne, you had me at hello. Commissioners, I'd like to move that we move forward with the North Park pilot cleaning an amount of 50,000, not to exceed 50,000.
Commissioner Ernst, sorry.
I'm hesitant because I want to know what the whole cost is, and I think they really should give you a firm price. Landscaping is usually a very fixed price, and when you say a pilot, is it 50,000 as part of 500,000, or is
Well-
it 50,000 as part of 90,000?
The problem is that we don't really know what's in there right now. We don't know how many trees are going to have to actually be removed, or how many may be dead in there. So that part of the problem is that we can't even see inside some of this. We walked out there, Aaron Wright came out with us.
But
So
they gave you a quote of 41,000.
For all-
That's their job to look at it and give you a price. Go to another vendor then if that's.
right, the extra costs, Craig, are going to come when Miller Lake goes out there and talks about, we can plant this many trees here now, and we can do this vegetation here and this native plant here. That's the extra cost. The bush hog is not going to go over, if you give me 50,000, it will not go over that to remove in this area. They feel confident in that, but there's going to be additional costs to plant new vegetation out there.
Are they planting new vegetation too?
no.
So this is
They are
the
ju-
clearing project.
This is the clearing process. This is removal process. This is trees, any kind of waste that could be in there.
Yeah.
It has to be hand picked because it's invasive or
Ground.
Yeah, so.
I don't know too many people are too careful on that, but I'll go along with it. I just think that you're dealing with a tree removal company who's going to go in there and just like the other one, big trucks, big equipment and stuff. So they shouldn't quote on things if they're not comfortable with staying at what they're at.
They're comfortable with that. I'm saying that there may be more, and
Yeah.
there's just the possibility, and the city's environmental team is going to be watching this, so it's not like they're going to be out there with a free, in the middle of the night, just
Okay.
mowing it all down. We're going to try to preserve as many trees and native plants as possible in the process.
Okay.
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright. Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to number 3, the Patriot Park pickleball construction update.
There's page 8 of your agenda packets is a memo I outlined. A few options we have with the roof over at the new Patch Reef Park pickleball facility. Raul alluded to the fact that they've extended the size of the courts. So we have a few options. If we stick with our current plan, we can still provide recreational pickleball year round, no issues. We can change the columns. We'll lose and extend the court, so we'll have the space, but we'll lose some of the aesthetic that we had with the sloped pillars that you guys saw in the presentation a few weeks ago. And then the other option is to expand and keep the design in the amount of 168,000. That's the recommendation by myself after evaluating this, talking with our consultants. So just looking tonight for approval to add another $168,000 to this project. And we were under budget on it. We also expect to get some credits back. We already know that we're going to get about a $12,000 credit in some gravel, but there's other areas where they're looking at some credits as well. So
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of it. I know Mr. Raul is worried that after 41,000, I'm going to fight the 168, but absolutely not. Option 3 is the best option.
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to approval of payroll and invoices.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $2,059,106.70.
Cool.
Okay.
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright. Motion passes.
Discussion items.
Commissioners, just a few updates. Everybody has a card in front of them with all of our 50th anniversary activities lined up. We opened the exhibit at Sugar Sand Park, the historic exhibit. Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Engel stopped by the night of, so I hope they enjoyed the biscotti and the coffee. They did a really nice job putting that together at Sugar Sand Park, so we want to thank the staff out there for that. We have an event coming up this Sunday at the park. So we're going to have food trucks, live music, giveaways, a lot of fun stuff happening from 11 to 2 at Sugar Sand. We went out on site to the tower at Gumbo Limbo, got a chance to go up top and walk through it, look at where the signs are going to be attached to honor Jacob Kozowski. So the tower looks really good. They don't have an opening date yet, but I know they're working hard, and we got to go on the concrete ramp that's going to attach to the parking lot. So everything is looking really nice out there. The tower structure is massive. It's going to be a really nice feature to have at Gumbo Limbo. Also want to let you all know, if you didn't hear the news, the coastal stewards were given the rehab permit from FWC. So they'll be starting the sea turtle rehab again at Gumbo Limbo. So that's an exciting update on that. We did go through our initial community appearance board meeting with North Park and got really good positive feedback from the city on that. They did ask to extend some of the buffers along the parking lots by the condos. So Miller Lake is working on adding some of that buffer into the design and the site plan. And then we have Jason Hagensick and Brian Hunt here from the YMCA. And I just had an opportunity to go to an event that they had this weekend. And I want to highlight it. It was the Teen Leadership Rally. And it was a really moving event for me just to see young people so involved in our community. Had the opportunity to help package up some food. We packaged up 15,000 bags of food for the community. And it was a really great experience. And I just, organizations like the YMCA who do these things in our community and gather all these young people to commit to building a better future. It was nice to be around and a good experience. So happy to continue partnering with them. And that's it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, good evening. Just a couple of quick updates for you. House Bill 77013 was passed by the legislature. It was enrolled, it was engrossed. It's not yet been signed by the governor. Just so you know, we checked as of this morning, it had not yet been signed. So it's been approved. The key factors in the bill that were adopted essentially provides for 12-year term limits, but only to the extent that they occurred after November of 2024. Independent special districts A member elected by the qualified electors of the district to the governing body of an independent special district may not serve for more than 12 consecutive years unless the district's charter provides for more restrictive terms of office. Service of a term of office that commenced before November 5, 2024 does not count towards the limitation imposed by the subsection. So essentially, it's 12-year terms going forward. Anything with regard to the continuation of districts or the nuclear option we talked about some number of weeks ago did not get included in the final version. It's not there, doesn't exist. The only other more operative section which does matter is under section 189.0694, beginning October 1 of 2024, which is this year, or by the end of the first full fiscal year after its creation, whichever is later. Each special district must establish goals and objectives for each program and activity undertaken by the district, as well as performance measures and standards to determine if the district's goals and objectives are being achieved. And by December 1 of each year thereafter, each special district must publish an annual report on the district's website describing a number of things, one of which is the goals and objectives achieved by the district, as well as performance measures and standards used by the district to make this determination. So that was an item that was in the bill throughout the session. It didn't get really changed very significantly, but it is there. Nothing which jumps off the page from a rational, thoughtful point of view, which this district has always performed. It just now requires more articulation and publication of what you do and how you do it. Those are the two main issues that occurred in the bill. And from that perspective, it's worth noting that the bill, although approved by the House and Senate, because it's a combined House bill, Senate bill, the governor has not yet signed it. It may not have been provided to the governor yet. As you know, if it's not given to the governor, he has nothing to sign. It will not become a law automatically. But if the Senate or the House delivers a bill to the governor and he does not sign it, but it's on his desk, it becomes law automatically after, I think, 15 days without signature. The end result of which is that hasn't happened here. Just FYI. Just quickly and on the record, and we'll talk more off the record as needed. I had a brief discussion today with Brianne regarding the J.J. Morley litigation. It has been served on the defendant. They have filed an answer. They have filed defenses as of March the 27th, the 29th. Without getting into the details of what we think of the answer, it was certainly a unique and interesting response. The facts, however, I don't think actually reveal the reality of where we are, but we'll find that out in short order. I'm sure there'll be some discovery. There may well be some depositions. I'm hopeful that if that's the case, that Brianne, independently of what they say in their defense thus far, will prove out the allegations contained in our complaint, which relates to the fact that they owe the district some money for a breach of the contract. But we'll get into that more privately as opposed to publicly. They did file their response. It is in the Palm Beach Circuit Court, and we just received their response literally 2 weeks ago. We'll share that with you. It's public record. Don't get aggravated when you read it. It's not uncommon. I'm not going to simply get on their knees and beg for forgiveness. It's not how it works in litigation. But in this situation, I think it's kind of an interesting response they filed. Very, very creative. That's probably the best I can say without being disparaging. So I'll be happy to end with that. If you have any questions on anything else that we can help you with, I'd be happy to try. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Bill that could pass with the
Yes.
governor's signature.
Yes.
Should we start calendaring strategic planning sessions for the district? So independent of these meetings or incorporate them into the meetings?
I will tell you that this bill, is a statewide bill. Obviously, it applies to all independent districts. I know that we're a member of FASD, and they will be looking at this very carefully because what applies to this district applies to all districts, which are special independent districts. The good news is that there's no encroachment this year on the independence of this district. There were some things in the bill that first got filed that were pretty onerous and were quite draconian in the context of taking away your rights and actually affecting the rights of the people sitting in front of you on the dais. I would subscribe to looking at that issue that you described, Madam Commissioner, to the extent that planning ahead would be very useful. The good news is that you have plans in place. You do create objectives and criteria and standards and such like that, which I know Brianne does exceptionally well with staff, what limited staff we have. So the end result is planning ahead would be useful. I have no doubt that this bill will be sent to the governor shortly. He's signing bills every day on various and sundry other things. This one happens to be one that has some statewide significance. And it didn't go away as you all thought it wouldn't. It just came back in a different form, in a lesser onerous form, but a realistic form than before, which was really quite out there in the stratosphere. So the answer is yes. Thank you. Otherwise, happy to respond to any questions. And yes, We've been working very diligently with Mr. Butter's lawyers over the past number of weeks, as has Brienne. We had a conference call today. Given tonight's direction, we would welcome the opportunity of sharing with you a draft of where we are with Brienne and otherwise. There are some provisions that do require some refinement and some attention with regard to such things as termination, liability and such like that, as well as some other provisions that were discussed this evening as well. And the cost sheet, the fact sheet, the pricing sheet was critical to the document. Irrespective of what they might be doing in Fort Lauderdale, which is probably a wonderful, obligation and opportunity, we're different, and every district relationship is different, and this one is different as well. However, it's helpful to look at the guidance of that document. The end result is that you've put out an RFP. You have a willing vendor who's willing to make some suggested changes and modifications with your concurrence, and we'll work on it. In the document, we'll share that with you. It's not a short document. It's right now, it's round numbers. It's probably in the neighborhood of, survey says, I would say 60 pages. Let's try for, it's not even, we haven't numbered the pages yet, just the section numbers, but it's about a 50-page document, some change. And we do, on the record, if I may, Brienne has been not just thoughtful, but extremely diligent with us in the guidance that we have received from her to have to draft a document that makes sense to the third parties that are reviewing it. It didn't fall out of the sky. It was an act of coordination, cooperation, and collaboration, and certainly your commentary and your public conversations with the vendor have been extremely helpful to us. They're now all on the record, so we know what your thinking is and what their thinking is, and there's no anything being hidden from view. It's all out there. So that being said, thank you for the opportunity. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioners? Steve, go ahead.
Just a couple of things. I had the opportunity to be here the other night for the opening. I thought it was great. I got a chance to speak to one of the ex-commissioners and learned some very interesting stuff about the background and the history of the district. So it was time well spent. Tonight, we got the information from the Butters Group kind of very close on to the meeting. And I think we need to have some kind of, I don't know, time frame where we have a chance to absorb and evaluate information in a presentation. It wouldn't have been fair of us to say to them, well, listen, we're taking it off the agenda, without giving them any notice, except for the fact that they showed up here and now we're sending them away. So that's not fair to them. But by the same token, I would have liked to have a chance to go over the information, look at it, take a step back and look at it again. So if we could have our vendors or anyone making a presentation to us, get us the presentation, especially when it encompasses numbers, say by the Wednesday before the meeting, something along those lines. I, for one, would be appreciative. It's not a negative reflection on the Butters Group. Like I told them, they have a lot on their plates. But we also need a chance to take a look at what they're doing and maybe, respond to it in an intelligent manner, having been able to absorb all the information that they gave us. And kudos to Brienne for giving us a summary on such short notice that at least helped us, helped me gain an understanding of what it was that they wanted to do.
Thank you. And keep in mind, though, that once you do absorb it and think about it and things like that, you can still send Brienne your comments, additional comments that you have. You can call her via email or whatever, and give her additional comments because she will be talking to the Butters Group more. So, do that if you have any.
Just in this case, with my schedule today, I really didn't have more than a couple of minutes to look at it. And I wanted to have a little bit more time. So, it's not only this, but, if we have, I don't know, an agreement with a new interlocal with the city, I like to have it as far in advance as possible so we can go over it. And I will, and Brienne knows this, I will be asking her questions going forward about the Butters Group proposal.
Three things. One is, since the governor hasn't signed the bill, I think we should invite him to the picnic on the 21st. It would be a nice event for him to get to know the 50-year-old district and what the value we serve. I think we do a tremendous value to the community. So it'd be a shame if they did anything other than what they already did. And happy for him to sign it. Second, I attended the city overall meeting last week that I thought was really well attended, and it really kind of, I think, embarked upon a new venue of the city being very transparent, very open, and looking for ideas from the community. And everyone was there, from police, fire to recreation services. It was just a phenomenal event, and I hope they do it again. It was a little bit on short notice, I think, from them to out to the community, but it probably served them well because they'll have more people next time they do it. It was very well received. And then third, this is week 2, really probably in 7 days, that the Amato Scrub has been on fire. And as I drove here today, I was quite shocked to see that the fire is still going. Yeah, it's more than it was last week, honestly. And so to me, it brings the question of, I hope the lessons learned can be applied to other areas. And I know Brianne started on the outside cleanup of Sugar Sand, but just because it's a nature preserve area does not mean that we should not remove debris. And the Yamato Scrub is just a prime example of, these are our parks, our beaches, and that's not in a residential area, but it does have a very broad effect. And it's just kind of unbelievable that it's ongoing still. And it's bigger than it was last week. And it was supposedly shut down. So I don't know what's going on out there, but I think we got to look for maybe another assessment from fire authorities. After they're done and everything is settled, ask them to come out and give us a review like they did, the police did. So
Firefighters are doing the best they can, and it's been Palm Beach County, Delray, and the city of Boca, and they're doing fire watches on it. I don't think they have determined what caused the fire yet. I mean, though I'm sure they'll release that information. But with the winds that we've had and the dry conditions that we've had, it just keeps going. But they are doing the best they can, and they have been out there constantly. So keep that in mind.
I've been smelling the smoke, but I didn't know where it's coming from. Where are we talking about it? Sugar Sand?
It's right behind Costco
Okay.
in the Yamato Scrub.
Oh, okay. It seems to me like whenever you see these fires start, it's because the underbrush hadn't been maintained and they haven't been dealing with it. And then all it takes is one of these homeless encampments, which we have around periodically this time of year, to start a fire. So I know the firefighters are doing a great job. I think we need to do a better job of cleaning out the underbrush to avoid these kind of things, and putting some where you can do some separation in there by setting some some areas there where you pull away the underbrush, which is what contributes that, and lightning can start a fire as well. Just a couple of things. I missed Thursday night's opening because I was tied up with business, but I did go by there Saturday. Anytime I go by there on a Saturday, the place is mobbed, and this was no exception. Both the exhibits on both sides were in full force. The parking lot was hard to find a spot to park because it was a beautiful day. The photographs in the exhibit, Chuck did a nice job. I recognize his handiwork. The photographs were really just outstanding, and I certainly apologize for not being there, but it was. My wife was excited to go by there too. She wanted to see the photographs, and Brianne sent me a few of them as well. And good job there. Switching gears, how are things with coastal stewards and the city with Gumbo Limbo? Is that relationship coming along okay?
I believe so. I believe that they're all working together now to get the sea turtle now that they have the permit in hand, they can start up the sea turtle rehab. So I think they're working on that.
Okay. The other thing is that I told Brianne I'd been into some different parks recently, and some of them have these signs about where there are defibrillator stations. And I know that the park rangers have these defibrillators on their carts, but a lot of times you can't find the rangers. They're not where there's a big gathering of folks. And I think we need to somehow or another make some kind of arrangements where we know how to contact the rangers in the event of an emergency, because time, the quicker you get to a situation, and you've seen situations where people have been hit in the chest with a baseball or a soccer ball, and need that defibrillation to restore their heartbeat. And I think if you can, Brian, explore that with the city and see if there's something there that where we might be able to make it more accessible, or people more aware of the fact that we do have those in the park, even if I'm not suggesting this as an option, but a lot of times there are security stations, pull stations where you can pull if there's an emergency that would get immediate attention, get immediate assistance. So if there's something you could talk to Parks and Rec about, I know that may be some liabilities issues associated with that, but I'd be wanting to know if they've given any thought to that type of situation. Now, we've been lucky we haven't had anything like that, but we have a lot of people in the park, both young people and adults. So, that's it. Thank you.
To that note, Bob, an AED tells you what to do. It instructs you on how to use it, but it might also be helpful to have something on the website where the AED locations are. Kids will, if kids are on their phones and they know that there's an emergency, the adult who's starting CPR could find out from one of the kids in the group, where's the AED? It's up at the, like at DeHornley, it's right there at the building. They do, I believe they have one at Woodlands. But it's a very important thing. And it's, I don't know if you all know how to use one, but I encourage anybody who has not taken CPR to learn how to use an AED. You never know. Bob, do you remember, this goes back before, I think even you were here, Steve. Was it David Alley came and spoke to us about clearing the underbrush at Sugar Sand? I mean, this is going back a lot of years. So if we could get somebody, because I think this was probably my second year term, so that was like 2011. Definitely, he said, you go out there and look, and this could destroy the entire park. So I totally agree with him. And thank you for what you're doing for the 50 years. I think you've done an exceptional job, you and the whole team.
Chuck and Melissa and Joanne, because we're all special events here, and also the city special event staff too. They've been really helpful. So it's been a good collaborative effort. So thank you.
I just had a little, I felt a little frustration in the Butters group tonight, with the fact that we've been going back and forth on the prices. And I totally get that they, they're looking out for their own interests, but they have to remember they're working with a public entity, and our interests are the public and our taxpayers. So they have to know that, like, they're not going to just give us prices super, super high and we're just going to say, oh, okay, that looks good. You know what I mean? Like, there is going to be a back and forth. So I just hope they understand that we do have to look out for our taxpayers' interests when it comes to this facility. and that we do understand that they also have to make a profit. But that we are still going to fight for the best price point as possible for our taxpayers. So, you're working with a public entity. So, I think that's just kind of what it is. But I think we're getting really close to something that is much more doable for our taxpayers. And again, we're gonna have Pat Drape, which is gonna be an amazing facility. So, yeah, I think we'll work it out for sure. Go ahead, Craig.
Spot on. I mean, it's a balance. I mean, they're getting a great piece of land, and they're building a facility. They're paying back Mr. Butters for the building of it completely. That I don't see him giving on it, but at the same token, we're going to get a great facility. So we just have to know what we're getting into. And then it really comes to the future, because the agreement will govern the future of it. And when things go wrong, I think there's a penalty, and the penalty's not on us, it's on them. So that's a tough part. That's the
It's a
tough
half
part.
full. There won't be nothing will go wrong, right? But yeah, I mean, once we get the full concession agreement, then we can go ahead and take a closer look at that. But like you said, we do want to move forward as well. So, we have to look at it from both, standpoints. So, yeah.
Move along as quickly as we could. And I've been happy with the result that we've had by the feedback that we've been given, and they're making adjustments. And I think there'll still be continued adjustments. But to Craig's point, I think the sooner we see the concession agreement, the more we'll understand the big picture too.
Adjourn.
Madam Chair, if I may, one quick item just before I let you go. I forgot to mention this to you during my brief but meaningful report. As you may remember, last year, the House and Senate passed a bill regarding your legal education, your credits requirements. As of January 1 of this year, it kicks in. So you have to put in the 4 hours of credits between now and the end of the year. It was actually codified in Chapter 112. It's 112, 131, 42. It was signed by the governor, became law July 1 of 23, but it's effective January 1 of 24. So at some point, we can either provide that training to you in one shot, over 4 hours, or otherwise, or periodically, whatever it takes to be helpful to you, but you all need to get that as part of your certification under the statute for those members of independent districts. So it's the law. It became effective January the 1st. It's going to be public records, sunshine, Chapter 112 ethics, and any combination of the three. So we welcome the opportunity of assisting you and making you more crazy. But there are other aspects of where you can get it. I mean, I know FASD is going to provide, yes. So if you're done, you're done, but I don't want to keep you from the truth. It's important to get it done because it's one element of a checkbox on your forms that you got to file this year. So thank you for listening. Pardon me the interruption, but thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, you have to check off the box now. You're not Form 6 filers, by the way. You're still Form 1 filers, as I am. Only local electeds, were captured, and ethics commissioners last year. So there was no bill adopted this session that had anything referenced to Form 6 filing, just FYI, at least not yet. Session's over.
Move to adjourn.
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright. Motion.
We are adjourned.